the truth that human life is eternal, death is an illusion, all of that. So I'm not surprised, but I'm delighted. And let's talk a little about the fact that you do train other therapists. Can you just tell us a little about how that's gone and how many you've trained and how long it takes and so on?
Well, it's a 2-day training, and they get 12 continuing educations for it. And I've been training since, I believe, 2011, and probably trained well over 100 therapists in the United States. There's almost a therapist trained in every state in the United States. And there's several back east, and, all over, really. And then also in Mexico and South America, and there's one in the UK. And so, there people can go to someone closer. They used to come out here, fly out to Washington, but
yes,
they do it less because there are people closer to them.
So how would we find someone like that if we wanted to have this kind of experience with our loved ones that we used to think were dead? Is it on your website?
It's on my website under Trained Therapist, yes.
And your website, what is your website?
It's RochelleWright.com.
Okay, that's pretty easy, and that's, of course, RochelleWright.com. How could it be easier?
Right.
Okay, well, and you're still doing this now, right? So if a therapist is listening, okay.
Yes.
Is it something fairly easy for them to learn? I mean, you find that they're pretty well doing it independently after that time, after the 2 days?
Well, they can, yes. And the interesting part is they all connect the second day. And they are like, and they've learned so...
Really?
Yes. And some of them have learned so much about themselves. They're like, they'll say, I had lots of therapy before, and I've never known this. I've never found out this stuff. And it's amazing. So that they all connect the second day because they practice. In the morning, they're the client, and then in the afternoon, they're the therapist. And then we talk about it or debrief at the end, and it's amazing. And they're very excited when they leave. Now, the therapists that come for training, they have more of a spiritual bent. They're more open to things, and they've even had things happen in their office, and they don't know what to do with it. So when they find out that there's a training for it, they're really happy about that.
Yeah, that's great. So basically, they've all been probably called by their own guides to find a way to do this deeper connection. That's probably why, as you think of them as spiritual, they're in touch with their guides. I guess we should emphasize here the fact that we all have spirit guides. Every single person listening probably has more than one, and they're trying to get through to us. They generally talk to us at night and try to get us to remember in the daytime what that guidance was. But wake up in the morning, ask the questions at night, wake up in the morning, look at what's in your mind, and if you keep doing that, you'll start to get your own guidance. Rochelle Wright is based way out on the other end of the world in Washington State, but people go to her there. I mean, if you are desperate enough, it's not a big deal to fly to Washington State, or to go to RochelleWright.com and look at what might be closer to you, because she has trained people. And I actually experimentally had a therapy with someone that Rochelle had trained right in Austin. And what we found was, since I wasn't in grief, I did have a connection, but it was a minimal one. It was sort of like, what the heck are you doing here? So I can tell you it works, but if you're not in grief, your loved ones say, you don't need this, which I thought was kind of fun. But Rochelle, what else do you want people to know about what it is that you do?
Well, I think I'll just kind of comment on what you said. They don't have to be in deep grief, because when I was first started doing this, I did it with a few therapists, of course. That's the way we start, And I remember Gary, we were going to do the video of him, and he said, I'll do it, but I don't know who I'm going to do. I have no idea. And so he showed up on Saturday morning, and he said, interesting enough, I had a dream that I have never had for 48 years about my grandfather. So I think that's who I'm supposed to do. So he said, but we don't have any angst or anything, but I'll do him. So he had passed 48 years before that. Well, we did that. And you would be surprised. I mean, it was shocking, all the things that Gary got. And it explained his family and the dynamics in his family and why things happened the way they did. It was really, really amazing. And so
that's good.
Any grief. Yeah,
that's good. It's good that it just, in my case, it was my mother-in-law, and basically her attitude was, you don't need to be here. You know, everything's fine. That's the trouble with knowing what's going on. The dead are impatient with you sometimes. But so even if you just want to experience what's going on and understand, maybe connect with someone in your more distant past for whom the grief has healed, it still works, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, it did. It did. Yes, it, it did. So I wanted to kind of explain to you when the processing starts, which is in the second part of the day after we have lunch. What happens is when they start coming, the other side starts to connect, what they begin to see are like colors, and they can be vivid colors. They begin to see shadows or clouds or various shapes. They'll see a light. They'll see a bright light. They'll see a tunnel. And several of them have gotten an eye, which is, I find quite interesting. They say, I see this eye, the shape of an eye.
Oh, my.
And,
wow.
Yes, and it's actually, it's much slower to develop. You know, we're always this fast society running so fast to and fro here on this side, and they just develop at a much slower pace. But I tell them, I say, well, this is the way it develops. So just what are you getting? And they develop. That's how it develops.
So it starts with an eye, and then the connection comes after that?
Yeah, different. Then they start getting different things, and then the eye may be the eye of the person that they're targeting.
Oh, how interesting! Wow.
Yeah, I mean, but that happens a few times. It's happened a few times, and then I think we did talk about this already, but how they're wearing white many times.
Yes.
But like the T-shirt, the white karate, the long robe, the white dress, the blouse, the skirt, and the other thing they do is interesting, is that they, like a grandmother, will speak in their native tongue, like Danish or German or some, and then the client will interpret it for me so I can write it down.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it comes, they'll speak in their foreign language.
So, I just want to emphasize this. You say that 98% of the people, I better come probably to Washington and try it with you. 98% of the people do get a positive connection with someone they've lost. They feel they've lost.
Yes, and they don't get this is coming definitely from a higher realm, because there never is any negative to it. It's always positive. Now I'm saying that that's when I work with them. When I train client therapists, they do lots of other work. So if they put it in their toolkit and intend to use it, but they don't start using it, sometimes they'll call me and they'll say, oh, I have somebody, and I'll walk them through it again. But I think they're getting a pretty good, rate too. But I can just speak for myself. That's what I'm getting, about 98%.
One of the problems, one of the problems that I've talked about is the fact that neither religions nor science will pay any attention to this wonderful information. So what's important is that we reach out on our own and we learn the truth on our own, and this is one powerful way to do it. Rochelle, it has been thrilling to have you with us. I'm so glad you were here. Please consider yourself to be hugged, and everybody, RochelleWright.com. And I think we're going to have Rochelle back in about 6 months. We try not to do it more often than 6 months, except with Craig, but we'll have Rochelle back because she has so much more to tell us. We've really only scratched the surface. So big hug, dear, and we'll be in touch soon telling you when we can do this next.
Thank you, and thank you so much, Roberta, for having me on. I really appreciate it, so that we can get this word out, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, dear. And everyone, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm glad you could be with us today. And sorry I had a coughing fit right in the middle of that, but that's all right. You know, we're doing all of this sort of live. Please never forget that you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began and you never will end. And when you fully grasp what that means, it's going to change everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest will be Judy Morgan. She's going to be here for the second time, but the last time was, I think, 2 years ago. Judy is a certified and accredited veterinary, get this, acupuncturist, chiropractitioner, and food therapist. She's written a book called Yin and Yang Nutrition for Dogs, Maximizing Health Using Whole Foods, Not Drugs, and it's a bestseller now on Amazon. My dear friends, I don't have to tell you that our animal companions are central to our lives for many of us. A couple of years ago, I wrote a blog post on what happens when a pet dies, and here's just a hint, it's all good news. Google picked up that blog post, and now I get emails from people daily, and sometimes more than once a day, and the post on my website has hundreds of comments from people who are in grief over a dog. Frankly, I have a friend who calls puppies pain in a fur wrapper, and that's really what they are. I mean, we know dogs don't live long. But if you love your dogs, then one thing that you can do is to make sure they live very healthy lives. You can add time to your dog's life with you, and Judy Morgan next week will help us make that happen. This week, our guest has been Rochelle Wright. Rochelle is a friend and protege of our wonderful friend, Dr. R. Craig Hogan. She's a therapist who has pioneered an extraordinary technique for enabling people to have connections with their loved ones that can heal grief unbelievably. And the reason this is so different from a medium is that a medium nowadays is reading the mind of your dead loved one. This is your dead loved one coming into your mind, talking to you directly. And that makes all the difference in the world. You can hear those words. I have a whole list of things people have said to their loved ones here, but of course we'll have to read that next time Rochelle is on. This thinning of the veil between worlds isn't just the wonderful work of selfless people like Rochelle Wright and Craig Hogan. This is something that is happening worldwide and in so many different ways. Those that we used to think were dead are doing everything they can now with the help of willing people like Rochelle, Craig, and I hope me too, to break through and prove to everyone on earth that human minds really are eternal. This is a fact, a central core fact of your life. It is impossible for you ever to lose awareness. It is impossible for your mind ever to die. That's what this is all about, helping you know that, because that's the beginning of your understanding the truth about everything. As you know, I have a number of nonfiction books out, and we're about to put out another one, which I'm working on now, and it will be out before the end of this year. All of my books are available, of course, on Amazon, and you can order them through bookstores. And the ones, except for the children's books, they're all available also as audiobooks. If you ever want to contact me or talk about my books, talk about anything, tell me you think I'm full of whatever you want to say to me, I'm delighted to hear it. Just contact me through the contact block on robertagrimes.com. I answer every email provided people have given me their correct email address. So please just double check the address, because there have been times I've written these big long answers and then it said, of course, address not found. So don't do that to both of us. If you take the time to write, I promise it may take me a week, but I will read and answer every email. And of course, this has been Roberta Grimes on Seek Reality. Please enjoy and make the most of this coming week in our one reality, knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you in particular are infinitely loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart